morning, Wareham. It is Friday, September 27th, and I have a fantastic show here for you. The news headlines, the weather report, and today in history. This morning, James Gilberti, the chairman of the Wareham Sewer Commissioners, is in the studio to discuss the commissioner's $10 million loan request from the town. Also, Nadia Karitnikova is back to digest the week's news and the events. And we also have so much more for you this morning. But first, I would like to take this moment to thank Not Your Average Antiques, an antique shop down Cranberry Highway in East Wareham, for donating the props that you see in the morning show. So stay tuned because the weather and the news headlines are next. Mainly sunny today, high at 74 degrees. It's going to be very beautiful out there. Well, tonight, clear skies, partly cloudy at sometimes, low around 55 degrees. Tomorrow, mostly sunny skies, high at 73 and partly cloudy at night with low at 62. On Sunday, some clouds in the morning, giving way to mainly sunny skies for the afternoon. High at 69, mostly clear skies on Sunday night with a low at 52. And now to the news. There were plenty of news stories over the week. Coming up are the news headlines. Well, Wareham Police Department cut themselves a 300-pound pig, but they won't be hosting a barbecue anytime soon. Brady the pig had broke out of a farm Wednesday night and wandered off to the streets. He was found running down the Fearing Hill Road in West Wareham at around 7:45 p.m. Officers from the Wareham Police Department and the Natural Resources Department captured the fleeing fugitive using a rope and some dog treats. That pig is humongous. And the Board of Selectmen made some suggestions at their Tuesday night meeting to tweak the town's master plan, which has been revised but not approved for about a year and a half. The expensive document lays out 20 goals for the town in 8 categories, and it was developed by the Southern Eastern Region Planning and Economic Development District, based on input from officials and members of the public. While the selectmen did not present all of their thoughts at the meeting, the board seemed to agree that they wanted to give officials and the public more time to comment and suggest some changes. And to another news of the day, the new elementary school will likely be the name of the Wareham elementary school that is going to be taking place where where Minot Forest used to be. At Thursday's school committee meeting, Superintendent Kimberly Sheverhood said that the school building committee had decided on the name because it was inclusive, neutral, and followed the pattern set by the middle and high schools. The former schools won't go unnoticed, as the committee have kind of talked about naming the 3rd and the 4th grade wing after Minot Forest and the Innovation Hub after the John William Dickus School. There had also been some discussion of naming the area where the younger students' classrooms will be after Hammond School, but that has not been decided yet. There's also been talk of naming part of the building after the Oak Grove Elementary School, which was a Cape Verdean elementary school. Dr. Kimberly Sheverhood said that she is planning on establishing a committee to help name various areas of the new school. The school will also have space to remember the people who have passed away, both faculty and students. Although the exact location have not yet been decided, Dr. Sheverhood said the school will have a reflection area honoring teachers who had a very positive impact on the children in Wareham, along with Students' Memory Garden to honor students who have passed. And also, the state released the results of spring 2019 MCAS test on September 24th, and school officials are pleased. Dr. Andrea Shum, the assistant superintendent for Wareham schools, said that the schools are confident in their knowledge of student skills and where changes need to be made. The emphasized that MCAS scores are just the results of one day of testing and aren't the all-around measure of students' abilities. Progress was mixed this year, as some grades saw substantial improvement while others lagged behind last year's students. Overall, Wareham students still lag behind those across the state, with a notable exception of the 6th grade, which beat the state's percentage of students meeting or exceeding expectations. The MCAS results, while important, aren't the only measure the district has to assess learning, Dr. Shum said. Administrators look at students' MCAS scores in conjunction with other data the district gathers and use that to determine whether individual students need more help or more challenging work. They also look at the data to see if there are patterns that point out to areas in the curriculum that need to be re-examined. And the small town of Wareham is a home to a plethora of talents, and a 14-year-old Samantha Giroud is a living proof. An inspiring interior designer, Giroud has been a photographer for 10 years now, which means she first picked up a camera and pressed the shutter release when she was just 4 years old. Now in 8th grade, Giroud has not outgrown her love for a photograph and continues to pursue her hobby. Take a look at some of her impressive works. Well, welcome back, my viewers. This is Good Morning Wareham. So we are mixing things around this morning. I have a live guest in the studio. We are going to be discussing about the sewer commissioners. I have James. You're going to go with James or Jim? Jim Gibberti. Right? I said it correctly.
Yeah, not bad.
Okay. Mr. Jim Gibberti is in the studio this morning to talk about the potential $10 million loan from the town for the sewer commission. So, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
Glad
for
to be
being
here.
here. So, there's a lot of information here. Okay, so let's start with the loan, the $10 million. How do you just, well, not how do you justify $10 million, but how do we come up with $10 million?
That really comes from the engineers going over what their recommendations are. GHD, the engineering firm that has looked at some of the problems that we're having, the problems stemming from the high rainfalls, increased water, and getting close to overflowing. The lagoons that we have, which if that happens, then the EPA comes in and tells us what we have to do and where we have to spend money, and we don't want that, not at all. They have looked at the structure, what it is, and they have made recommendations of a equalization lagoon, which would be covered, which would help control some of the odors in there, which as, let me see if I can simplify this. When flows come into the plant, they go into the plant, they get processed. The plant is able to handle a certain amount. Once the flows exceed the amount that the plant could handle, it backs up into the lagoons outside. The plant continues to process and continues to take out of the lagoons. But if more flow comes in than the plant can handle, the lagoons fill up. We have no redundancy in the plant, so one of the things that the flows go through is a screening area. If the screen gets blocked, we have to stop everything to get the screens cleaned. We have no redundancy in order to be able to switch over to another one, do the cleaning, and then switch back. Their guesstimate, which is really what it is, the best guesstimate on it, is a $10 million figure. We are going to CZM to try to get a grant, not a grant, let me rephrase that. It's not a grant, it's a loan, a no-interest loan. So if we get the no-interest loan, which we feel we're in pretty good shape for, we would be able to pay that back over a 20-year period out of operations, out of our budget, our current budget.
So is $10 million the exact figure, or we need more than that, but we just can only ask for 10 million?
Well, 10 million is what the projected cost is for the project that we're looking at the moment. Mm-hmm. To do
a project in a group of many other projects.
By far.
Okay.
By far. If we go over to the capital plan that was put together a couple of years ago, and to replace and repair and upgrade all of the systems within the town that need to be done, lining pipes, etc., we've got some like $100 million worth of expenses potentially out there.
Okay.
Which is the most important? Depends on the day.
Depends.
It really does. I mean, it sounds like a smart-ass comment, but it isn't. It really depends on what comes in. If something breaks down in the plant, that becomes the priority, versus this over here that we're doing.
So the big fuss about this was during the last, well, not the last, one of the last selectmen meetings where Sandy Slavin came and presented this proposal. But there were some unanswered questions such as, will the rates go up? And how does the commissioner look into to pay back this cost to the town, to pay back this loan?
Well, the loan payback, we budget about $1 million a year in capital expenses, so we would take the payback out of that, out of our normal budget.
Oh, so the rates won't go up?
The rates are going to go up probably, but not as a result of this.
Oh, okay, something else.
This will be totally independent.
Okay.
And just so that people are aware, we went before the town, a year and a half, for $10 million to line the pipes in Swift's Beach over to the Narrows pump station. Well, we wound up coming in at $5 million. So this $10 million that we're looking for right now may or may not be the top end of the number. I mean, we may come in less. We don't know. As I say, these are the best projected figures that we have from the engineers at this time.
So the rates are going to go up, but it's not in results to the $10 million loan.
Correct.
Okay. And
correct.
We'll be able to know later on why the rates are going up?
You'll know when they're going up and why they're going up.
Okay. All right. So, great. So that was one of the questions, how the commissioner was going to pay this $10 million back.
Bake
So,
sales were out. We thought of that, but bake sales are out.
there's another issue about the EDU and how to. You mentioned that you're working on getting the equitable rate for every person in the system, and you're struggling with that because you don't have the numbers that can help you decide exactly who should pay what.
Well, it seems like the ideal way from everything that we've researched and looked at, and both engineers, consultants, other towns that we've spoken with, seems like the most equitable way to handle sewer rates is based on water usage. But until we're able to get the water usage figures from the districts, we can't pursue that particular avenue. As a result, we're into this arbitrary, if you will, figure that we're using now, the EDUs, which were established long before we came into the picture.
And they don't give you exactly, they don't tell you who's using what.
No, we have no idea. I mean, you take in a single family home, you could have 8 people living in the home or 1. They pay the same amount. 8 people obviously are going to use a lot more water, and they're going to put a lot more strain on the sewer system.
Or those people like to take their bath instead of shower.
That too. Absolutely. I mean, there's so many variables in there. I don't think even with a water usage thing, I don't think you'll ever get what everybody would consider.
But it would help.
Totally. It would make it far more equitable than exists today. That's all.
So how are you working towards getting these numbers? The water departments, districts are completely independent. So if we can't get those numbers from them, what are other things that we can try? Options that people can consider.
Well, at the moment, we haven't settled on any specific other options. Some of the things that we've looked at is going to, like the building department, or rather, the assessors department, and for homes, for example, to charge on a basis of a bedroom the same way they classify it now for Title V's. That's one potential. How valid that is, I don't know. As I say, the ideal would be to get the water rates.
We cannot put independent meters in the homes. Residents can have their own meters to tell you.
Well, you could do that, but you probably, the cost to do that is going to be just kind of off the charts a little. And then you've got a secondary problem with that, because we've thought about doing something along those lines. Aside from the cost, it's, you've got an ongoing cost with something like that. Who's going to read them? Who's going to maintain them? See, that's another whole expense over and above. So I don't know that would be even a consideration. So, I mean, it's one thing we've thrown out into the mix and looked at, but it doesn't look that it's that viable.
Okay. All right. So for now, it's the sewer commissioner looking for this $10 million loan from the town. The article is going to be going towards town meeting?
Affirmative.
Affirmative, okay.
Has to go there.
It has to go there. So what are some of the information you're looking to present during town meeting regarding this article?
Well, basically, it will be the things, the 3 items that we're going to do. And unfortunately, the cost of any one of them is excessive. If the loan would come in as a no-interest loan, as I say, how we pay it back out of operations, $1 million of the $10 million would have to come out of our retained earnings, because that's for engineering, and we can't get a loan for that. They won't give us that. So But it's all going to be, a lot of this will be predicated at the moment, anyhow, on whether or not we get the no-interest loan. If we don't get the no-interest loan, we're still going to have to wind up doing this. The question then will be, how is it going to be paid back specifically?
What if the residents vote no? What repercussions does that have?
Well, at some point in time, if we have the rainfalls continuing the way they do, and we get overflows, we'll have the EPA down on us, and then the EPA will tell us what we're going to spend money on and what we're going to do and when we're going to have it done by. And that may or may not fall into the same framework of things that we need to do or feel that we need to have done. I mean, we've got forced mains that need to be worked on that are, I mean, they're functioning now, but they're 45 years old. Nothing's been done to them. We've had some samples taken and shown wear and deterioration, so we're going to have to replace those. That's going to be another $10 million hit, because you get Heinz Field and you get the Narrows pump station. Those forced mains are going to be about $5 million apiece. They're both the same vintage, so.
Okay. Well, good to know. Good to know, and I hope things will go well during town meeting. If anything comes up, new information, I would love to have you back before town meeting to refresh their minds.
Well, you could
what's
take
coming up.
Well, I'll let you know when we're going to do the bake sale to get the additional money. So you can
there will
publicize
not
that.
be any bake sale to get you $10 million. If there was, I would be doing it already. Thank you so much for your time, for being here in the studio this morning. I look forward to continue on this conversation.
Thank you very much for having me. Glad to be here.
So my guest was Jim Gibberti, the chairman of the Wareham Sewer Commissioners, here to talk about the potential $10 million loan from the town, an issue that's going to be going to a town meeting this October. So at least when the article pops up, you know what it is about, and you'll be able to vote accordingly. With that, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to continue with more. Thank you.
Are you tired of having to send money for your Office 365 subscription? Are you looking for other programs that you don't have to pay for? Here are a couple of solutions to some open source programs that you might want to check out. If you want a few great alternatives to Microsoft Office, try Apache OpenOffice or LibreOffice. Both are fantastic alternatives. Keep in mind that if you still need to create a Microsoft Word or Excel document, both are able to save files in the right formats. Another popular replacement for Microsoft Office is my personal favorite, Docs, which you can use free if you have a Gmail account. You can also use Google Slides for spreadsheets and Slides for slideshows, while saving files is easy if you use your Google Drive. If you're in the market for a new photo editing program, try Paint.net, which is completely free. It doesn't have all the bells and whistles that Photoshop has, but it can still do basic photo editing, adjusting, and airbrushing. Another nifty program to try out if you're into sound editing is Audacity, which you can use on either a Windows or a Macintosh computer. Just search for Paint.net or Audacity on Google, and you can download both for free. If you're interested in learning about the basics of Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, and organizing files, come to our free intermediate computer classes, which will run on September 5th, September 12th, and September 19th next month at 1:30 p.m. on Thursdays here at the main library. You can also check out our website to find out more about our basic computer skills classes. If you have any questions or would like to register for any of these classes, you can contact me at the library at smiller@salesinc.org, or you can call my extension at 508-295-2343, extension 1012. Thank you for joining me on this week's episode of Checkout of the Week from the Wareham Free Library.
Zoos have come a long way since 1874, when the first public zoological park in Philadelphia debuted in the country. During their nascent days, zoos were a place where animals lived in captivity and are put on display for people to view. The perception has long changed. Nowadays, zoos across the country are a safe haven for endangered species.
When you're choosing species to the zoo, it's no longer what is the most popular. It's really focused on what species need the most work. And when I say that, it means what species really need the work from a conservation standpoint. Species that are threatened, species that are endangered, that really need to be at zoos, a part of captive breeding programs to help these species from going extinct.
Buttonwood Park Zoo's Animal Hospital assures the well-being and population of these species. So in case you're wondering, why is it important to assure the survival of species apart from yours?
And you do get that question a lot. What do I care? Why would I need to change my habits? Well, everything's an ecosystem. Everything is connected. So you can say, oh, well, I don't need red panda. Well, that impacts so many things. Not only the other animals in its environment, the plants in its environment, seed dispersal. There's a lot of things. The entire plant here is interconnected. And when you start losing these major species in these ecosystems, it has far-reaching impact. We can see in our own backyard. Best example I can give you, we have all kinds of problems with Lyme disease on the South Coast. Well, that's because our deer populations is so high. Why is our deer population so high? The natural predators, the cougars, the wolves, they don't exist anymore. The only thing that's out there is the coyote. Well, the coyote doesn't eat the mice to spread the ticks to the deer. There's a whole ecosystem. So how does it affect me? Well, you worry about Lyme disease? Well, that's one of the reasons, is because species have gone extinct, even in our backyard.
Do we always draw such a straight line?
It's never a straight line. And one of the difficult things from a biological standpoint and from an evolutionary standpoint is oftentimes the impact are not immediately known. It doesn't happen overnight. There are some species that go extinct and it's immediately felt in the ecosystem. Many of them have long-term implications.
My first visit to Buttonwood Park Zoo in New Bedford cemented that thought. The Buttonwood Park Zoo is one of the oldest urban and suburban zoos in the country. It first opened its doors in 1894 and are currently celebrating 125 years of conservation commitment to more than 50 endangered and threatened species. Walking around the zoo, it is hard to believe its age, all thanks to the cosmetic surgery back in 1996.
Yeah, back in in the late 90s, early 2000s, the zoo closed for a complete remodel. There was, it was showing its age back then. So the entire zoo was done over, and that's about 20 years ago now. So yes, it was definitely a bright and shiny new zoo and an old footprint. And right now we're actually working on a master plan. It's been about 20 years since the zoo reopened, and we're working on updating everything at this point as well.
A component of the master plan was the expansion of Emily and Ruth Habitat, the two oldest residents in the zoo, in addition to opening Forest, Rivers, and Reef Reservation in 2017.
One great thing about the Rainforest Rivers and Reefs building is that we created mixed habitats, particularly on the Amazon side of the building. And what that basically means is that we don't have a singular species in one exhibit. We have a variety of different species living together, and that can be everything from small monkeys to tropical birds like parrots. We have lizard species, and we even have tons of fish species down below. Now, from an animal perspective, there's a lot of stimulation going on. There's all kinds of different animals. They need to learn how to cohabitate with all these different animals, and it creates not only a rewarding environment for the animals, it also creates a rewarding experience for the visitors that are coming to the zoo.
So part of our master plan is to redesign our barn area into the Nature Connection Education Center. So the barn itself is being retrofitted into 4 new classroom spaces, as well as a brand new animal ambassador facility where we'll be able to have our animal ambassadors get up close and personal with our visitors on a more regular basis than they are now.
Working with Nature Explorer, Charlie's Nature Play and Outdoor Nature Playground opened last July. The zoo also runs classes and public programs to help people best understand nature and the world around them.
So this is called Science on a Sphere. This is a tool that was developed by NOAA to be a way to visualize kind of global data. So what we're looking at right now is an actual satellite image taken from space of Earth. And what we're able to do with this is really do lessons. We do a ton of school programming and some public programming on things like weather, space, and really anything in between. So we have, let's see, right now we're looking at over 660 different data sets that we can put up on the sphere. Everything from the age of the seafloor, which is what is up there now, to, let's pick some other fun things that we can see. Bird migration patterns. So truly we can do a lot of really neat things with the sphere. So right here you can see they've put 2 data sets on top of each other. One is air temperature and the other one is bird populations. So you can see how bird populations may or may not move with the change in temperatures and seasons.
Now, for those who would say to you, wild animals do not belong in the zoo, what do you say?
I agree. I get this question all the time. Why? I need to qualify that, don't I? I get this question all the time. I'm a zoo director. I've been working in zoos for about 30 years now, and I wish there wasn't a need for zoos. I really wish that we could all just enjoy animals out in the wild, but that's not reality. Reality is species are becoming threatened, endangered, and going extinct at record levels. There are species that are at the Buttonwood Park Zoo and other zoos around the country that barely exist in the wild or are extinct in the wild. And the only chance for these species ever to survive or to ever be reintroduced back into the wild is the captive breeding programs of accredited zoos. So in a perfect world, you wouldn't need to have zoos. We have such lush wildlife interacting with humans. That's not the world we live in. The world we live in is that wildlife's under constant threat, and zoos are at the forefront of saving these species, from captive breeding programs for reintroduction and also for conservation in the field as well.
So whether you're in for the exotic experience and look at the beautiful pandas to the majestic elephants, or you're interested in seeing the faces of your occasional neighbors, Buttonwood Park Zoo may just be the answer. Well, welcome back and thank you for being with us this morning. So Nadia is back, as I said. We shuffled the things around this morning. So Nadia Karitnakova is in the studio to digest the week's news and events. Welcome.
Hi, Quinn.
You cannot decide what to do with your...
I think this is the best way.
This is the best way. Oh, Nadia, you're so adorable. So Nadia, welcome back. You were visiting with family.
Yes, it's good to be back.
It's good to be back.
Yes.
How was your time over there?
It was great. It was perfect. Except I didn't adjust to the time at all. I woke up at like 3 every single morning.
Yeah.
But it was still fun.
What is the time difference?
8 hours.
Okay.
Yes, 8 hours.
So you're still adjusting.
I feel like my body doesn't know I left. So I'm now comfortable living in the US. I am.
Well, welcome
Yes.
back. We are happy to have you. 2 weeks without you, that was a long time.
It was a long time. It felt like
Yeah.
forever. I know. It's super good to be back.
So we have two big articles that I would like us to really take time to
Yes.
evaluate. The school committee, their last meeting, they were experimenting with some names.
Correct.
And how they will name different wings and how this school is going to be inclusive of all the schools and the culture, those before and after us. So let's talk about what they were talking about during that meeting.
So, as you know, the school it might be renamed to the Wareham Elementary because I think it's more inclusive and neutral name than Minot or Dicus, which I think is a good idea. But they still want to name some levels and some of the new school, such as Minot, Dicus, Hammond, and Oak Grove, to name again special section and floors of the school. So these names are still going to remain, but just not in the school as a whole.
Okay. So, and I love that those names are not going to go away. So the wings are going to be they may get a Minot or Dicus name,
Yes.
depending. And also there's a talk of having other names of different schools that we had in the past, like the Hammond School.
Yes.
Yeah, Oak Grove School. That's very good. So nothing was decided on?
Nothing was decided, as I understood, because the school committee that day didn't have 2 members, so they couldn't officially decide. But to be honest, I'm still not sure if they're supposed to decide it on a school committee or at the town meeting, because I know there is like a small argument between the selectmen and the school committee who has the last word in this decision.
Of naming the school
Yes.
as a whole? Okay.
Because selectmen think it should be brought at the town meeting, and the school committee thinks it's their decision to make. But they found a compromise, and I think it's going to be brought up at the town meeting.
At a town meeting.
Yes.
All right. So I mean, I do not know what other names people will come up with, but it follows the trend. The elementary school, the middle
Yes.
school, the high school.
I think from what I heard and read, school officials, they more inclined to have a neutral name. So I don't think it will have a specific name other than Wareham. It will have a Wareham, I feel like, in the name.
Yeah, Wareham Elementary School.
Yes.
Yes. Such as Wareham Middle School, Wareham High School.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Did they talk about anything else apart from the names of the school? How is the building, the schedule?
No, not really, but we did receive a letter to the editor in our newspaper. This is a grandchild of William Dicus, who in 1968 donated $40,000 towards the building of then a new school. And then his daughter also donated a large amount of money. And they debate for the school to still carry their grandfather's name.
Dicus
Yes.
outside.
Yes.
Okay.
But I don't know. I feel like since a school is supported by everyone's taxes, I think it would be fair to have a neutral name.
Absolutely,
Yes.
yeah.
Because then everyone would have to fit in their names, I feel like.
But they did, as I said, the Minot, Deaconess, those names are going to be in a school.
Yes, they are.
Won't be at the forefront.
But they're not going to be erased. No, they're still going to remain, which I think is pretty good, honestly.
So she would like the name Deaconess to be transferred. Do we know about the name Minot, where that comes from?
No, I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good question.
To see if somebody, if it was a family name, if they are also looking to have their name.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
that's going to be a big debate. All right. So what else do you have for me?
So, as you mentioned, the MCAS results came out, and it was really hard to compare because this year high schoolers, from 8th to high school, kids took new generation test on the computer, and apparently it has more rigorous ratings, grading. So that's why we can't compare this year's grade from the last year's results.
Because they're saying more rigorous exams than last exams?
Yes, and the computer factor, but I don't think computer could have affected the exams that much.
How did the computer... Oh, because they were taking them in the computer rather than paper.
I don't know, I think this argument might work for parents, but I honestly don't think it might have affected the results. I think the rigorous grading might have affected, but not the computers themselves.
So as a school, we are improving, but in the state, we are really not improving.
No, that's a good point, because as you said, middle school actually did take new generation exams last year, so we actually can compare it this year's from last year's results. And in general, the Wareham school district, the middle grade, they did. Can I just read it out loud? Because it's not possible to remember. 38% of students in grade 3 through 8, in other words, 404 out of 1,000 students met or exceeded state standards in English language and art tests, while 27% or 286 students out of 1,000 met or surpassed standards in the math test, and 119 out of 371 or 32% met or went beyond the statewide expectations for the science. So they did meet the expectations, but as I was saying, the high schoolers, even though we cannot compare this year's result from last year's result, they actually did on average worse than the state standards.
Absolutely.
High schoolers, we're not talking.
High schoolers,
yes.
Their numbers were less.
Yes. Yes.
Well, okay, so it shows improvement, but overall we are behind. So good for us, but when we are looking at evaluating schools based on exams, we are not showing a good picture.
No, compared to the state note.
Okay.
I really suggest readers to read our full article because it can tell everything in more details. Yes.
Okay. I know Dr. Shump did comment saying that this is not a full reflection, and actually they were very proud.
Yes, they were proud. Well, they were proud because they said that tests do not measure students' intelligence. They're not measuring how school's doing overall. Because, you know, I can judge by myself. I'm very bad with SAT tests.
Yeah, okay.
And I hope people don't judge me by my SAT results, which I keep in private. And I agree in this way, but test doesn't always reflect the education in the school, the quality of education. Okay,
all right, very good. And then you have a picture of a pig.
Oh yes, I was having, so I'm going to post it on Facebook today, but I'm looking for the owner of this pig.
His name is Brady.
Yes, because I've been trying to find it yesterday for the whole day. I really want to write an article about this.
But you guys did write an article.
No, it's just like from press release. I want to actually meet the owner, and I want to talk to the pig and get his quote.
His quote?
Yes.
So if anybody knows where that pig is located, Nadia would like to find out.
Yes, I want to make this pig famous because it is a huge...
This pig famous? I want to make this pig famous.
I want to take like a picture of this. I want to ask how it feels, like everything.
Go to the police station, Nadia.
I already went. They cannot...
Tell you?
They cannot disclose the name of the person, yes.
Oh, the person?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
It's a pig. How about the natural resources?
Yes, I'm actually trying to get in touch with them. I've been trying to do it yesterday. Anyway,
Post on Facebook. Anybody
will.
knows about this pig?
I think, yeah, I know it's a Marian resident, so I think I'll have to go there
Okay.
and ask.
Well, very good. Well, at least you can go. The pig was found 1 mile from the farm.
Yes.
Track the farm to see, go around there and see who has a farm.
Yeah, that's actually a good point.
Yeah.
Yes.
Who has a farm around there? Ask some neighbors. I'm sure that pig, that humongous, somebody knows something.
Exactly. 300 pounds, like,
What was
it's
the
a beast pig.
eating? Well, thank you so much, Nadia. What are you covering this weekend?
So I'm covering 30-year anniversary of the Atlantic Boats Company,
Okay.
and also going to be covering the core group renovating the Loves Park tomorrow from 1 to 4 p.m. And they're also going to be, if anyone is interested, there's going to be a back tour tomorrow
Okay, very
on
good.
Cranberry Box.
Thank you, Nadia.
Thank you, Queen.
So that was Nadia Karidakova, our weekly news correspondent, in a studio to digest the week's news and events. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to continue with more. Good morning, Wareham, and thank you for being with us this morning. We are broadcasting live from our WCTV studio in Wareham. This is Good Morning Wareham, your source for local news, weather, traffic, and more information. And now for a moment in history. Let's take a look at where we were today in history. On this day in history, Poland surrendered to Germany in 1939. Germany had invaded and captured over 140,000 Polish soldiers who tried to hold them off. This would be the start of the Second World War, as Germany was only beginning their attempt to rule Europe. Also today in science history, Albert Einstein published his paper introducing the equation of E equals mc squared. The paper was titled, "Does the inertia of the body depend upon its energy content?" And the equation itself relates the amount of energy, E, to the mass of the object times the speed of light. Also, for today's birthday, shout out goes to Stephanie Wilson. Ms. Wilson was born in Boston, Massachusetts in 1966 and was the second African-American woman in space. She flew on 3 different missions and has recorded 42 days in space. Today, she turns 52 years old. That is all for Today in History segment. To learn more cool historical facts, please go online under history.com. Stay with us. The coffee segment is, stay with us. We'll be back after this short break. So for our featured program this morning, it is about beautiful blessings. This is a doll company by Ms. Ravine James, making dolls that resemble real people, real human beings, real women of today, with all their culture, with all their ethnic background, representing people that tend not to be represented in the doll market. So here is a little bit about her company called Beautiful Blessings.
We have to look at the world as it is. It is diverse. It is multicultural. And you want to empower all of those cultures. I don't think anybody should feel negligent or left out because of them not being of a particular race. I think that mindset needs to be discouraged.
Every person is a beautiful blessing, and that message could not come so clearly than from my guest, the guest of honor, Miss Ravine James, the creator of the Beautiful Blessings dolls. Welcome.
Thank you. Hi.
So let's talk a little bit about your dolls. Your dolls, they may look like just a doll, but they carry a very powerful message.
Yes.
They are a movement
Yes.
by themselves. So tell me about Beautiful Blessings, and especially about the name, where it comes from.
Okay, so Beautiful Blessings is a unique doll collection that empowers girls and women. And I got the message to say, call them Beautiful Blessings, because that's what you are. That's what women and girls are. They're beautiful blessings. So that's where that name came from.
So what made you say, listen, I want to start, not only I want to purchase a doll, I want to make my own?
Well, I'll talk about that. So growing up as a kid, I played with dolls all the time. I had all kinds of dolls. But my mother struggled finding black dolls. As I started buying dolls for kids and girls and my nieces and nephews, I still had a problem with the lack of diversity that was represented in the toy stores. And I was like, okay, this is the same stuff that was from 40, 50 years ago. And we still struggle with that. And I'm an adult woman, and I think that's crazy in this day and age with as diverse as cultures that we have in the United States and all over the world, that dolls need to represent every little girl. Every little girl should be able to see herself on the shelf.
Okay, so you are able to give little girls a chance to see themselves in the shelf. But also, these dolls
Adult
are for
women.
women. So what do they see? Or why should they purchase these dolls?
So each doll, the motivational message, I think, is what caters to the adult woman. Some women carry trauma, childhood issues into their adulthood. And because the women are who they are, the way they're shaped, the way they're built, what they edify, I think that's why adult women like them as well. It's with the names, and then who wouldn't like being called a beautiful blessing?
The step towards the empowerment, self-realization, putting an accurate value on yourself is a long journey. Purchasing this doll seemed like one of the steps. When they purchase it, how do they continue on from there? Do you offer any words of advice?
Yes, well, I would say, so as you purchase a doll, and as you purchase, if you purchase most of the dolls in the collection, every doll has its own distinctive message. So those different collector's items, and actually they're mirror cards, those different mirror cards, and my goal is that they look at that mirror card and look at the mirror and look themselves in the mirror and speak that message to themselves, tell them who they are.
So I'm sure you're helping a lot of young women and older women, but how have these dolls helped you?
Just the fact of the message, even the message has helped me. Sometimes, I'm creating the dolls, it's a reinforcement as to who I am as a woman. And even in this world where there's no one representing, there's not a lot of me in this space. So that can sometimes give you a different mindset. So as I design and create these dolls for other women, just the fact of doing that also inspires me as well.
So for those who are watching this interview and they say, oh my goodness, I want the doll, how do they get in touch with you?
You can go to my website, www.iamabeautifulblessing.com. And, if you Google Beautiful Blessings, you'll see a lot of different Beautiful Blessings dolls. You'll see a lot of information come up, but you can go to the website, and there's even a contact form there to contact me.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on this interview. You have heard from Ms. Ravine how to contact her if you feel that one of these dolls could be the accurate representation of you or your young one. And have a pleasant day. Bye. And from this studio, I would like to thank you for joining us this morning for another show of Good Morning Wareham. If you missed us this evening, this particular show will be rebroadcasted this evening at 6 p.m. It will also go on our Wareham Community Television YouTube channel, and we will be back on Monday with more. A gentleman from Notus Group discussing the casino, the proposed casino project, will be here on Monday, so do not miss it. Thank you, Wareham, and have a pleasant day. Bye.